hear this, hear it. Okay, good. Are you ready for the message to Pergamos?
Yes.
If you can hear this, hear it. And the Spirit is saying to the churches, and the churches are supposed to be, the way they're telling the story here, the churches are supposed to be the bride that Jesus is supposed to return to the earth to marry. That's the point of Jesus coming back to the earth, is to take his bride, which would be found in the churches. Well, those churches are the reference here, the separation from Asia Minor, all those attached to the G and C, are, if you'll prepare yourself in this place of coming into your place of power, remember the tribulation and all the stuff from 9 and 10, makes the reference then that there'll be no hurt of what they're referencing, the second death. And that second death is when you come into your power and then decide to separate from it again. But see, you remember you're reading it from back to front, so that's the coming part. So you got to get through the floods. So that's the reference to that. Well, we would say a purging more than that would be reference to the second death.
And to the angel of the church in Pergamos write, These things saith he which hath the sharp sword with 2 edges. I know thy works, and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is. And thou holdest fast my name, and hast not denied my faith, even in those days wherein Antipas was my faithful martyr, who was slain among you, where Satan dwelleth. But I have a few things against thee, because thou hast there them that hold the doctrine of Balaam, who taught Balak to cast a stumbling block before the children of Israel, to eat things sacrificed unto idols, and to commit fornication. So hast thou also them that hold the doctrine of the Nicolaitans, which thing I hate. Repent, or else I will come unto thee quickly, and will fight against them with the sword of my mouth. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. To him that overcometh will I give to eat of the hidden manna, and will give him a white stone, and in the stone a new name written, which no man knoweth, saving he that receiveth it.
Right. Now that goes through a little bit. This starts with Pergamos. That talks about duality in the 2 edges. That would be in 12. That reference will be in Isaiah 49, chapter 49, verse 2.
And how come you know all these chapter and verses?
Because this is our gig.
What? The Bible is your field of expertise?
Absolutely.
And why is that?
It's the simplest, most misunderstood, McLuhanist thing we could find.
What's it mean to say put the name of McLuhanist in there? What does that mean?
Of the tactility of how humans take the written word and tangle it up, vis-a-vis the Gutenberg printing press.
Yeah, which is McLuhan's point. So you're saying you're taking McLuhan's view of this.
Of course.
You are taking on McLuhan's view. You're adopting his perception of this.
Yeah. No
yes,
problem.
But in the larger scope, what he's saying is he's taking this confusion and he's unraveling it.
That's what McLuhan did.
Of course, simplifying it so you could get a hold of it this way and have a new thought. Oh, sorry, we're icing. VW's dry. So we'll be.
And who was Antipas, the faithful martyr?
Oh, now when you start talking about martyrs, we have no regard for martyrs. That means I'm so powerful, I'll martyr myself so everyone can know I was important. There's not a regard. There's no sainthood for that kind of business.
From your view.
Yeah. Well, that's the one you're asking about, isn't it?
Yeah, no, but you're critiquing the meme of martyrdom as a successful strategy.
Yeah, well, when we don't see it as very successful, because why would you listen to somebody that couldn't hang around in life?
Yeah, couldn't put up with language and words.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like we'll say, well, we won't do any of those. We were going to say like Dr. Martin Luther King, nobody listened to him at all until he was gone. So, if his words were that good, why didn't they listen to him when he was alive?
Yeah, maybe like Marcel Duchamp, who pretended he didn't make art for 40 years or whatever.
Or go to become a great artist, because once you're dead, everybody will want to buy your works. Let them get on you'd have to fake leukemia to rev up your business in the painting world. But even so, okay. And let's see, is there more?
Well, what is the doctrine of Balaam, and who taught Balak?
Yeah, well, that's Baal. Bob.
The golden calf.
The golden calf, Bob. Yes. You had great fun with that not long ago. This is where they were drinking the gold.
Yes. That was our last session on Graham Hancock.
Yes, but I have a few things against thee, because thou hast there them that hold the doctrine of Balaam, who taught Balak, to cast a stumbling block before the children of Israel, to eat things sacrificed unto idols, and commit fornication. This is the rules and the regulations. Now, that's found in Numbers 31:16. And so the whole thing, this is what's coming now. Don't forget the flow. John told you these are the things to come. Well, so this Balaam hadn't happened yet. So now the Revelation is telling you what's going to happen then, basically pointing out that you are in your power, and you read this book because you've separated, and in your separation, you're going to the Garden of Eden. So it's telling it past, present, for you to get it. Now, I'm not saying that they are getting it, but they certainly have the opportunity to get it. And see, he's writing these letters to the churches individually. And so the things he's got to say to Pergamos is not the things he had to say to Smyrna. Well, the reason there's a delineation is because if they got it, he didn't tell them how they could possibly mess it up. He left that alone. He only tried to give them words to straighten them out. So when they got to Pergamos, they could look and go, oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, I got it. Look out for Balaam. Balaam's bad news. Don't do that. If you make a sacrifice to your idol, don't eat it.
I will come unto thee quickly, saying, repent, or else I will come unto thee quickly, and fight against them with the sword of my mouth. What is the reference to the sword of my mouth?
Marshall McLuhan. It's those that would see the duality. If you get the duality is, you can't fight with duality. If you can hear this, hear it.
And
that is the point.
I will not. What is the reference to the sword of my mouth?
Marshall McLuhan. It's those that would see the duality. If you get the duality is, you can't fight with duality. But if duality confounds and eliminates you from surviving, then what good is it? It still is, but you don't have to make it be the focus means that you're judging your perspective of power. And if you separate power and authority, that's two conversations, but one you can stray away from, and one you can embrace, if you get this little tidbit of knowledge.
And what is that tidbit?
To know the difference between power and authority.
How can you tell the difference?
Well, okay, authority has to tell somebody else how powerful you are. Power doesn't want anybody else to know. It'll keep it to itself. authority would say, I have this screwdriver, and this is how you do it. And you put this Phillips head screwdriver in this Phillips head screw, and you turn it righty is tighty and lefty is loosey, and you go through this whole process. That's describing how you have authority over the handling of a screwdriver. But a good construction worker would just pick up the screwdriver, put the screw in, and move on to the next one and never speak of it.
Yeah,
that's the difference in power and authority.
Yeah, authority is those guys trying to tell you something.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly correct. That's great. And that's why we just answer questions, but every question comes back to the point of bringing you into your place of power, activating the non-physical that you've already got. That's what's so magical about this whole process. It's not like you got to go buy something for this to work for you. It's just to recognize that you already have more than you'll ever use to have your power on this earth as it is in heaven. Now, Ed, this is very significant because all through history, people would give you riddles regarding it. Nostradamus was quite infamous for it. Nostradamus, because why didn't he just say it? Well, because he was under a queen that would have lopped off his genitalia and or his head if he'd have gotten anywhere crossways with the queen of the days. What? Not her power, authority. That's why it had to get all melted together into this other type of wordy words that you could strew any way you want to, because you didn't want to just say it, because you just say it, but everybody could figure it out. Okay? And what was your other question, Ed?
Okay, and we'll give him a white stone, and in the stone a new name written. What does that mean, a new name written?
A new name, your name of power. The white stone is the purity that will change your RNA and will be the essence of your new DNA equivalent.
That would be your second death.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's a simplified way, Bob, of saying it, but yes.
There you have it.
Wow.
Right on, Bob.
Wow. Because, yesterday I had all day long this word in my head, Pergamos. And when he's talking about the Pergamos church, he's talking about McLuhan and all these things.
Line muted.
Right. Yeah. Nice thinking up there, Roxy.
Okay, now listen.
If McLuhan was so damn smart, why didn't he talk about human beings not being in their power?
Okay, that's all he talked about. Now here's the point. What is the image you have of a human being? Some chemical body? What is a human? He knew that the extension of the eyes in the new media, where extension of your senses, was what you were. And you need to become aware that that's what you were made up of, not a biological image. You were made up of these structures, and you better become aware of how they are limiting your power. The whole point was, that's what made him revolutionary. He anticipated ion and was telling us how to take on our power, and that's why he got in big trouble everywhere. Now, if you don't know, you think that we're saying, take your own power does it. That sentence tells you nothing until you know who you are. It was about taking your own power. He even noticed that the electric media made you become autonomous. But McLuhan said way more than what he wrote.
So
am
I not going to be able to be in my power if I cannot understand what Marshall McLuhan said about my chemical body and my electronic body?
That is the point. Deeper level.
Well, the separation between power and authority.
Yes, which is different in oral cultures than from literate cultures and from electronic cultures.
Which are merging.
That's right. And that really complicates the issue. Well, what is the power then that you're talking about acquiring?
Your non-physical and physical merging is one. So you, as a human creator, can come into your place of power, not authority, with power. When you come into your place of power, you no longer think you know. When you know, then you can assert power in all conditions, tactile or otherwise.
But I'm curious as to how, before Joyce and McLuhan, how anyone came into their power.
Oh, McLuhan celebrates all of them. But there's nobody who knew the history of culture as much as McLuhan. He cites them all in his books.
But how could they have come into their power and go to this graduate school that you talk about if it was pre-McLuhan and pre-Joyce?
Yeah, just McLuhan had the advantage of showing up at the end of the process, at the time of the end of the beginning, and delineated what everybody else was probing around. But he said everybody, quoting James Joyce's "Here Comes Everybody," was part of the magic of creating language. That's the democratic vision there. Not as democratic as politics, the inclusive of everybody and not judging anybody's level of knowing. And the best way to do it is say everybody is creating speech and language and adding to it. It's the great play or the great work.
Well, it's the art of creation.
Yeah, thought and language.
Okay, so it got that, and so therefore, Marshall McLuhan would then just be the present age of Aquarius that would allow humans to consider the biggest part of that whole dynamic, which is significant, is the bringing up duality and tactility. Because once you get that, then it undoes many of the means, his word, many of the means that humans use as their excuse for not coming into their power, so that they can know that they don't know because someone else might know something else. And what we're saying, but to validated by Marshall very smoothly, is that once you come into your place of power, you'll very easily not notice all these other, well, if you want to call them technologies, that's okay. We don't have a push against any of that, whatever it is. You ain't even got to the good stuff yet. It's coming. But that whole age of having all power, not authority, but power, that can apply it into your individual personage. Is that too far around the maypole, or was it closer?
No, that was the two conversations respond to that. That's exactly what McLuhan said, but the other conversations, McLuhan satirized that. Remember, all his writings are a satire of the human situation, the human comedy, and the result of the two conversations.
Right. He's like, excuse me, sir, are you trying to tell me something?
You never heard a professor ever say that before. He said that.
So much.
No. He had the gall to not be a professor and to just ham it up and play every day.
And yet did more professing than most others ever alluded to.
Like you, Ion. Voluminous hours of verbal play.
Uh-huh. Which is great, but we want it simple, and we don't.
Well, I don't mind. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. When we're doing the Bible, that's a simple document.
Uh-huh. And if you could get it this way, simply, and see that even in this, some say is not simple, but it most certainly is when you start looking at what the actual word printed press Gutenberg words are. Then all of a sudden it's kind of like oh, and then O turns into wow. Okay, I have to do this, and this, and I got it right. Okay. Well, how do I prove that I got it? Well, your works. Your works, wonders wrought within your works, you'll know. And see, you would acknowledge that this Bible was pre-McLuhan, right?
I had a point there to make. What the heck was it? Sorry, I might have to come back later, but...
so what about...
What do you mean the Bible was pre-McLuhan? Of course it was.
The Bible, it was? Okay.
McLuhan was the first Bible scholar to point out the duping of the Bible, the mistakes, the problems that the Bible hindered for Christian learners. Nobody, Christian scholar, ever did that before. I mean, we're talking, in the popular lingo, this guy was a blatant anarchist, raving, psychotic guy, destroying everything, which is what Walter Bower said when he began to understand what McLuhan was saying. He said, Bob, McLuhan's undermining the very foundations of our Western civilization. I said, exactly, Walter. Walter never could get over that.
That serves you well because Western civilization isn't doing very good on its own volition. So
yeah, McLuhan had down. He predicted it. I could say all that I'm saying, and since nobody knows McLuhan well enough, if I never said it was McLuhan, they'd say, wow, look at all that stuff Bob's saying. I'm just being, quote, honest and telling you where I got the words from. I don't have to. And if I never told you it was from McLuhan, you would never know, and you just think, well, Bob's got a pretty interesting view. How did he come up with that? That's the point there of referring to just a little bit.
You've completed a lot more of McLuhan than McLuhan ever did.
Well, that's the postgraduate work when we get to, and I was doing that with Craig today.
Yes, McLuhan got hung up on the difference between power and authority.
Well, that's a simple version of it. He didn't get as far as speech.
Oh, granted, yes, that is the most simple. Yes.
Yeah, he got it way further. He understood the difference in the issues as far as one could as a human being at that point, and nobody even got to that level. They're still back in the 19th century. But he didn't have Connie. He didn't have Carolyn. I had the advantage of interacting with someone that kept us on the wide and true path, the wide and open and diverse path of tactile engagement. Nobody had that. I was the lucky guy there, and I agree with you. I have completed McLuhan and moved beyond it, but to understand it helps to get a little back on it.
Well, how's it working for you?
I can quote. I don't have to be quoted. I can do William Blake or do Shakespeare or Dante. You can quote all these guys and what they were pointing to. I like to quote Master Eckhart, which in the 14th century, he said, only the hand that erases writes the true thing. That's trying to write in a writing culture and cancel defective writing right there. That's a guy who understood how to take your power in a writing culture. Only when I erase what I wrote do I write the true thing. Imagine trying to say that to the Pope back then.
Sure, or now.
That's right. As McLuhan said, if you're interested in the truth, you better lay low. Now, you could say, well, I'm going to take my power and tell them, do the Bland. I'll do a Bland syndrome. I own this station and I am that. But other people say, well, Blanche, you're going to end up in jail if you keep that up.
That's authority. That's not power.
Yeah, that's right.
Blanche showed her power when she came back and said, oh, I didn't mean to offend anyone. That's exercising power.
Yeah, and the one who simplified that dilemma for humans was McLuhan. He pointed out the difference between literate authority and power, and electronic authority and power, and digital authority and power, and pre-literate authority and power, so that you had a chance to get a bearing there.
Okay.
Then you launch yourself.
Okay. Got it. Okay, we're good. Go ahead.
So now that we're good with our digression, do you think we may be able to proceed with the revelations without any more mention of McLuhan? Because here's the thing, he was a great and mighty man, but you're repeating yourself in these quotes from Alicius, whoever that was, Master Eckhart.
If there's anybody
who said that so many times.
Repeating themselves. Look, Ion is repeating himself continuously.
No, he's giving revelations here that have never been given before if you will give us a chance.
Yeah, and I'm telling you what it means.
Oh, thank you. But we were asking Ion, Bob.
Oh, no, but Ion doesn't want to be a cult.
This is an intelligence analysis with non-physical, not with Bob.
No, Bob is non-physical. That's what I'm including. But like Ion, we have to use words, which is part of the non-physical. You just don't want to offend the labyrinth of your mind. So, Ed, you're turning this into a cult. Look, Ion right here will agree with me when I say Ion wants response. Not just Ion to spout. He wants our response, our interpretation of it. Ion, it's the average, the good Bible scholar say, Mr. Ion, you're taking what is obvious and pretending it's something else. This was written long after Moses.
No, it wasn't.
They knew about Balaam.
No, it wasn't.
Well, can you prove it when it was not? You see, you're saying it wasn't written in 95 A.D. So how can you, quote, prove or support that statement? Why would you believe that it was written in some nether zone of now and was before all that unfolded.
Well, Bob, did they have a printing press in 95 A.D.?
No.
Did they have a King James Version of the Bible in 95 A.D.?
No.
Did they have a Gutenberg reference that made this paper to print its word on in 95 A.D.?
Well, if you want to keep it on a simple level, I would say no, but all those things did exist because all exist now.
Okay. Then who's available from the Council of Nicaea to verify this was the exact transgression that they said was okay in the open canon? There ain't one.
Who's to verify what you're saying, that this was a repeat, the Bible goes backwards? Who's to verify? What's to verify to back you up?
John,
well, yeah, that was written after Jesus from our visual, our apparent common senses view.
Oh. Well then.
Yeah, you can say all you want, but can you show me how
Bob,
the backup that was written before and all this?
Yes. The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him to show him unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass.
Yeah, and that's what comes later, the next 1,500 years. Okay, so what was the point?
Now you wanted something.
Yeah, like I'm trying to figure.
I heard what you said, and then we're cleaning it up. We read that, the first verse, and you said, nope, I ain't having that. So we said, okay. Who bear record of the Word of God and of the testimony of Jesus Christ and of all things that he saw.
Well, did you notice that people think that the John the Baptist's work is referring to events after he lived? People adapt it to today. Herbert W. Armstrong's church and other churches say this is predicting 2,000 years before what's happening to us now. There's that way of looking at it. That's probably
as well. Well, how do they? You can't go by that, though. There's nothing to prove that, so you can't.
Well, there's a lot of scholarship that thinks it's proving that.
Oh.
I'm not saying it's true or not, but I don't see it. I'm asking you to prove that it means that. How can you support the idea the Bible goes backwards?
Well, Bob, here by the word.
I don't think you can. I'm not saying it's not true, but okay, go ahead, prove it.
Okay. John, to the 7 churches which are in Asia, grace be to you and peace from him, which is, and which was, and which is to come, from the 7 spirits which are before his throne. And then all the references go back to the point of what is to come. It's clearly that this is the beginning place. Because how can you write...
Of what comes after Jesus expired.
No, that's not what it said, because these are the words of Jesus.
Written by John. John claimed they were the words of Jesus.
Well, good, because it was the beginning place that tells all that's supposed to become.
Okay, Ed. You know, I assume, that most people think the Revelations is about what happened later. You could say it happened during King Henry, or happened during Hitler, or now. You know that's the normal acceptance of it, right?
Well, they got on the wrong start right from the first verse, because the first verse says, things which must shortly come to pass. So these have not happened yet.
Yeah. Things which must come to pass, which is all that. Remember, that's at the end of the Bible. What comes to pass is after this was written, not what would happen before it was written.
But then you read the words. If you go by the words that are, it tells about all this. It's the past. What you're saying is the past as soon to come. That's what the point is that's, if you look, the proof is how it is written.
Right, so if you take those first sentences and say everything that happens in the next 23 or 22 verses is what's to come, and it's referencing stuff
it's
in the past.
The whole Revelation. It's the introduction to the entire work of the Revelation of John.
Yeah, you're saying that this is to come, therefore if it refers to Baal and the gold guys with Moses, then that must be part of what's to come.
Not what's supposed to be, that's what it says is to come.
Right. Now, probably some people could go in there and say, well, that's not what it says, it's this or that, and they can argue over it, or they go back.
They've been doing that. That's what split when Henry VIII couldn't get his divorce from Catherine of Aragon, that's what caused the split for the Protestant church in the Southwest.
Right, and so you're taking in this endless argument and misinterpretation or cohabitation with what they think it means, you're taking a particular view of it. You're saying, no, it means this. You're extracting yourself from the argument and saying, no, it means this. Well, those engaged in the argument may not include you because you're not engaged in the argument.
Well, that's good. That's all right with us. We still won't change our words.
That's okay. I'm with you on that. I'm not that interested in this document. I mean, I'm interested in getting what I get from it, but it's obviously not relevant to taking my power.
Well, if it told you how to do it, it'd be significant, wouldn't it?
Does it tell us how to do it in there?
Yes, it does.
And we're going to come up to that. It's going to be in the Revelation document.
Well, I don't know if you will or not.
No, don't judge me. You're saying it'll be in the next 22, 23 verses. We will see that.
Chapters.
Right?
Chapters.
Yeah, chapters. Sorry. Yeah, chapters. It's coming in what we're exegeting right now. It's coming. The answer, what you just were meaning by the answer and how to do it, will be in these chapters.
Yes, of course.
Okay, good. Okay.
That's why we're doing this. It's a revelation.
Okay, good.
It's a revelation.
All right, good. I got no problem with that.
What's interesting here in the Temple of Pergamon is that you got 4 walls, 4 friezes. A, which is this, B, and C, this, and then these 2 sides and are D. But it's about the battle of visual space conquering acoustic space. Well, my chart has the battle of various kinds of tactility over the original analog sensory spaces. So you see in the Croker quadrant, tactility squared, that's the Android mean, begins in the Croker quadrant or satellite, holeopathic satellite squared. So the battle between the media, which is shown in the other chart called Dobbs' formula, is a replay of the battling they're showing here. The drama of collective cognition. So I was not aware of the Temple of Pergamon, but I have my chart is a portrait of friezes.
If you can hear this, hear it.
But I am what? The oligarch, is that the oligarchy? Or is it the mass mind?
Maybe. Describe how your chart applies it.
Well, my chart does apply it. We have a mixture of the top down and the bottom up. So you've got oligarchy is bureaucratic control by the secret intelligence agencies, but then there's the bottom up chaos caused by new media. You put the two together, and the audience goes from one side to the other, back and forth quadriphysically. So the oligarch would be... I just want to finish your point here. I'm agreeing with you. The oligarch is a better term than oligarchy. I agree with your term.
Helter-skelter, yes.
Yes, helter-skelter, exactly. Oligarch is the top-down and bottom-up merged and rear-view mirroring it, while the wonderful world of being merged with everybody is being ignored.
What is it when you rear-view mirror it bareback?
Bareback, did he say, Carolyn? Carolyn frowns, Ion. No mood for that.
Deutsche Bank.
Deutsche Bank. Now, that's the oligarchy, and the Deutsche Bank, the Goths and the barbarians go way back, Ion. You're saying that the Deutsche Bank has roots back in that area, or beside that area, next door, like our intestines are next door to parts?
From it.
from it. When you showed us, when we watched you as the hologram on Skype on November 27th, you showed pathways to us which were not coming from our world. Is those pathways what you say in reference to Deutsche Bank? Those kind of not obviously connected pathways? Or is it just directly connected?
It may be the Bolsa de Comercio Buenos Aires.
It's a particular bank or group, tribal oligarchy. So Roxy, he's pointing out the oligarchic top-down meaning of the Pergamon. That's why it's a seat of Satan. It's the bankers of the day.
Jason, I think actually from there, the priest of Babylon moved to Pergamon, and then they moved to Rome. Actually,
that is the oligarchy.
OMX in Copenhagen.
OMX in Copenhagen. All right, that you can look that up. See, the
Abortion Frankfurt.
Our abortion? Did you say our abortion in
Borscht?
Yeah, Borscht.
Frankfurt.
In Frankfurt. Right. Now, here's the thing, Roxanne. The bankers were dealing with the new magic environment of visual space, and they understood it pretty good, and they didn't tell the people how they could control them through visual space. See, they exploited the new intoxication. That's why they're Satan. They're not encouraging perception. They're encouraging numbness.
Yes, and it's when you say that, it's interesting that, for example, Albert Speer was inspired by the Pergamon to make Hitler's Tribune in Nuremberg when they did like a church of light with columns of light.
That's awesome. You just came up with the key connection to Deutsche Bank there. No, Roxy, you get that. You get what you just pointed out, explained the connection to Deutsche Bank behind the Nazis and Albert Speer. You just explained it.
Yes, because Hitler wanted to create some magic controlling the multitude.
Right.
And they actually retrieved the Pergamon.
Yeah, Albert Speer was the great architect of Nazi Germany. And McLuhan writes his first essay.
The visual space of the Pergamon, they tried to remake it to control it.
And that's probably because the Deutsche Bank, if they have roots going that far back, that was their original Delphi oracle, and they wanted to celebrate their historical roots. So that's why Deutsche Bank is connected to Pergamon. And Speer is written about by McLuhan in his first essay in the first issue of Explorations. Speer pointed out that
Jürgen Fichtchen.
Beg your pardon?
Jürgen Fichtchen.
He got a name. Is he the backer of Speer?
No, he's the maker. JUERGENFITSCHEN.
Yeah, you said it so fast I couldn't write it down, and we'll have to re-listen to it. I don't know what you said. You want to try it again? You want to be fair and do it slower?
Ooh.
See, he won't do it. So you can look that up, Roxy, when you re-listen to this. You can spell that out. Kim Fishin. Anyways, he gave us a name. Is that the guy that goes all the way back?
Jürgen Fichtchen.
Jürgen J. Jurgen. G-E-N. Fishin. Okay. Now, does he go all the way back, parallel worlding it back to the Pergama era that we watched? He's a 20th century update. Oh,
maybe.
Thank you, Ian. Maybe.
And is the the war of the giants with humans depicted in the Pergamon somehow relevant?
Well, let me add this, Roxy. LaRouche says the gods of Olympus were the oligarchy. The oligarchy. So you had this democratic impulse coming out of the Greek heroes and in the myths. So it is true. The gods are the bankers, the guys hijacking visual space at the time. So, yeah, I think. Okay, that's my take.
The giants. The giants are.
The giants are either acoustic space, and the young generals that are beating the giants are funded by the oligarchs. You could look at the big giants are Finnegan, and that was tribal pre-literate man, and that was obsolesced by the phonetic alphabet, which would be the young Greek heroes. Now, Ian, do you have a different take on that than we're saying?
Paul Ashliner.
Oh, we're getting names, Roxy, tonight. We're getting the guilty list. Paul Ashliner?
Achleitner.
Eitner. I got sort of that. Paul Ashleitner. Is he still around? Is he here in the physical? Is he on the drops?
Didn't say.
Yes.
Well, that's cool. We all know that Janet Yellen is. She's doing fine on the drops. Okay, next point. Let's see if I'll unmute some people if they are unmuted.
Could you tell us?
Don't say could he. He can tell us, Roxy.
Okay. Bob went to the Pergamon altar, and where are the factors that we're not considering to our visit there?
Yeah, what did Bob learn that he didn't notice?
There's nothing that Bob doesn't already know.
That's what I learned? I was confirmed that?
That's always new.
Yes, we spent a long 2 hours there, right, Roxy? Looking at it, reading all the little notes and figuring out we were looking at the wrong part and this and that. Yeah, we spent a long time there. And it always is usual.
The next video I'm making of that.
Oh, good. Yeah, because as usual, I just go in, yeah, I knew that. That's my conclusion. Yeah, I understand their problems. Okay, you're right. You're correct, Ian.
Yeah, so maybe that just marked like this exegesis.
Exegesis.
That you are actually.
Exegesis. We like exegesis.
Yeah,
exegesis is good. No. It's good because what happens is like you take, say, the difference between Paul, the Apostle Paul, and Paul of Tarsus, and then you go all the way back to Samson, and you start running an exegesis and doing a parallel through the scriptures, you're going to find that many of them bump into each other. There's more than one Sodom. There's one and more Sodom. There's more than one Sodom. You can bump into those. Everything from Melchizedek forward in the reign of Hezekiah came from Daniel's view, which was prophesied by Elisha. Well, Elisha laid it out and gave you what the dynamics included. What they include is all the New Testament. G.E. Philco, Colossians, Ephesians, Colossians, Philemon, Philco. G.E. Philco, in order, and laid them out. See?
Yep, that made sense. If G.E. Philco, Carolyn, is, the various books, Galatians, Ezekiel, or something. I never caught it. I have to re-listen to that. But G.E. Philco, is that a present-day company? No, it is. I think it's a company, General Electric Philco or something. That's the pun. The key point here is Deutsche Bank, Roxy. Did Deutsche Bank know about, I forget the name of your area, Roxy. What's it called?
Rixdorf.
Rixdorf. These Deutsche Bank characters that connect back to the Pergamon, were they aware of the significance of Rixdorf, Ion? Its history with the Tibetans and me?
Yes, because it was owned by the Templars.
I'm asking Ion.
Yes. We're not going to trump her, Leo. No, she's right.
Okay, so there it is. That's a distorted answer, Roxy. He's going along with you, but they did know about it. Okay, we can understand that. It's an easy question. Next question.
No one's going to dig about the names given.
To Rixdorf or to Melkel? Which names? You said a lot.
The original ones when you were trying to figure out the stuff in Germany.
The Pergamon. In the Pergamon. Is that the original stuff? We've done many topics here.
The names that you didn't get.
Yeah, but I know everything.
The Jürgen or the Paul Aschlefter, which, or both?
Both.
Right, Paul and Paul. Paul Aschleitner and Paul of Tarsus.
And Jürgen.
And Jürgen, yeah, Jürgen Fischer.
Yes, very good.
Are they aware of you and what we're doing here, Ion?
Want to, but can't say.
You can't say, right? That means you're aware of us.
I noticed that every time they closed the Pergamon to renovate, there was a war after, and now they're renovating it again until 2020. So is there anything to that, or?
That pattern.
Yes, in the Valley of Megiddo is being gated now for the blood that will run bridle deep in that day of the end of time as we know it. The final battle, the Armageddon. Yes, it's beautiful. We like it. And we're going to get the minerals. Don't y'all worry about it. Don't worry about that.
Bob gets the minerals.
Then Bob's, because they're just tacking on it. Bob doesn't want your irradiated land. He likes H-197. He likes Fukushima. He thinks everything is good. Aikido is a plant, and we like Aikido. You're doing a great job, Aikido. Everything is good. We'll send you some more money. You'll be all right. Then we're going into the Ukraine and Georgia, and that area there. Doing all that. Once we get all that out, the vestiges, and we'll hold these truths to be self-evident. On that day when Bob landed on the continent and declared it good, fine and well, once again, that the earth was his domain.
That's all true.
And therefore, on that happily delighted note, we are therefore eternally, completely, and forever incomplete.
So they say that these younger gods are taking on the giants to restore order or to create order over chaos. So chaos is the feminine acoustic space, and the male visual space, they think creates order. It actually creates division. So the little gods can beat the giants because the giants are acoustic space. They got no dimension, so they're huge, surrounds you. And for some reason, the little guys can beat that. Well, the little guys can beat the acoustic space because visual space, the alphabetic writing space, is bigger than acoustic space, going to swallow it. And that's why the little gods can beat the big gods, because visual space is going to... Acoustic man can't handle visual space, doesn't know what to do. It's just like all the Aboriginal races around the world fell before European colonialism. They didn't know how to deal with visual space. So that's the point here. This is an elaborate description of the phonetic alphabet. Order being established over chaos, and then that order evokes a new kind of chaos, leading to Alexander the Great, the Roman Empire, the Dark Ages, Charlemagne, and then the printing press. Yes, acoustic space is not really inner. The inner is only when you have an outer, and that's a visual boundary. You create a boundary between your outer and your inner. So that's a product of visual space. Acoustic is simultaneous and can't be seen. But visual man calls it inner space. And McLuhan said that that's what Immanuel Kant brought in, the rediscovery of inner space after the phonetic alphabet. With the beginning of the electric age and the time of Ben Franklin. It wasn't an environment yet, but he started thinking electrically. So Kant is the second Copernican revolution of retrieving inner space. But inner space is not appropriate. Really, acoustic space is chaos. Almost very close to tactility. So this elaborate art form showing the effect of the phonetic alphabet. So what art form would show the effect of the satellites? The magazine, the weekly magazine inventories all the activities around the planet, like Time Magazine, Newsweek in the old days. That would be the art form. McLuhan used to say that the daily publication of newspapers was the weaving of the bayou, the tapestry of Bayeux. The Bayeux Tapestry, that's what it's called, where all the people would get together in France and just weave the major events. So we're doing that every day once the newspaper telegraph press comes in. So what would describe the global theater? It would be the whole population and listening to music, watching movies, reading reports, having jobs, role-playing. Huge slave societies would be the art form of the effects of the global theater. In other words, we look at something acting out before us, but the people acting out their daily ritual, putting on their makeup and going to work while driving and listening to the car radio, nowadays watching, texting, that is the frieze. That's the F-R-I-E, a moving animated frieze of how the old chemical body responds to this new discarnate state. So,
trying to liberate from the wall, but this is still attached.
right. So you've got here pretty impressive sculpture. A lot of kinetic craftsmanship and energy goes into making this stuff. Exhausting thinking about it, but it's so puny compared to what's happening today. It's very hard to visualize what's happening today. That's why Ion comes on and motor mouth goes for 8 hours talking, jibing, mocking, pattern recognition, predicting, and with everybody else jumping in, asking questions, making responses. That's a verbal freeze. So Payday's a verbal freeze with music. And I, again, refuse to rest my case. It's never finished. Yes, it is. As of now, August 9th, we've had enough. We now enter the Silent Sea.
We just celebrated the birthday. The birthday.
We had quite a birthday yesterday with JW's birthday, August 8th, 2014. In more dynamic interactions, because I've got all kinds of categories in each quadrant, just like they got all kinds of gods and scenes in each quadrant. So that's a nice realization. So it's good they make these little pieces of paper to go and in spare times between the real important work, not this thing important, we can take our time and have some time to play with time and make up obsolete patterns. We have Ion here, Dion. See, the visual space guys are out to kill Ion. Dion, the one, doesn't make it very far. Looks like the purple people eater that Nelson Meadows made. Who's that? It's right over there.
Yeah, in the corner.
Attempted to finish.
Use
well,
the four winds.
Let me say something about the four winds. The four winds, they're sort of showing horses here. They're like the four horsemen of the apocalypse. But in chapter 23 of our Book of Revelation series, we learn that the four winds are four gases, also four angels that are released on January 12th, 2011. And that brought forth the drops, Coldplay, and all the ionic non-physical products. The four winds are really important in the angel diagram, what we call the angel diagram for chapter 23.
You see one of the two horses.
Right, 2 of 4. So you can listen to, you can see Dan Winter's analysis of chapter 23, the diagram, but it's very inadequate compared to what we've got from Ion.
That is the point.
You ain't seen nothing yet. Little baby, you ain't seen nothing yet.
I'm gonna go dig a hole.
Visual space.
Bring back visual space.
Bob's been digging holes for years. He likes them all.
If you can hear this, hear it.
You ain't seen nothing yet. You ain't seen nothing yet. Little baby, you ain't seen